Welcome back to another episode of the controversially non-controversial podcast.
I am not in the right state of mind to do that. One of
We're
those.
going. We are rocking. This is the best time ever to have a CNC, and we all know it. No,
No, I refuse.
welcome back to another episode of the Track Packer Podcast. Let's go racing, boys! Yeah, let's go racing, boys.
We are on episode 14 of season 5, and as you can tell, we have definitely hit the dog days of summer with myself, Mason, along with John Breckel and Jessup Pelkey for this episode. John, how are you doing this week?
Oh, Mason, I'm doing quite well, to be honest with you. I'm a little warm because it's been really warm up here within the great state of North Dakota, but it has definitely been a heat dome over the top of us. We did get a little reprieve for basically almost maybe a day to day and a half last weekend, but then it got really warm once again.
Yeah, I agree. Over here in Fargo, it's been warm. Today was a little bit better. It was breezy, and I actually went for a short run. But and especially with the day that has been somewhat decent, of course, the smoke rolled in from Canada. So we just cannot get a break with weather over these last few weeks.
No,
Even my cat, who's yelling in the background, is super upset too.
she is teed off at the weather.
I
She wants Mother Nature to figure it out.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
would agree
blame
with
her.
you, Malacca. Jessup, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Mason. I came prepared. I brought my own screwdriver. It's a Phillips. I think that's useful. I'm doing good. You know, it's hot. I have a happy Becca when it's hot. Becca has a grumpy Jessup when it's hot. And the reality is, as long as Becca's happy, that's what matters. But I don't like the hot.
No, and as we were talking
Now,
beforehand, your plants aren't happy either.
they're not
No,
happy
my
either.
plants are very unhappy.
Now, speaking of Friday, I laughed so hard. So Friday, what was it, Jessa? Probably right around 85 when we started, probably Friday, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range. And it wasn't really, super warm, wasn't really super cold by any means. But let's talk about Becca a little bit.
Oh no.
A long sleeve shirt and a vest
Yep. And
and a
jeans.
beanie
And jeans.
and jeans. She must have been freezing.
We're basically in an ice age.
That's both unbelievable and believable at the exact same time.
Yes.
Becca's best friend is global warming. So when Al Gore went on his little campaign to stop it and the whole Green Deal thing, Becca single-handedly went and did the Bernie Sanders thing and got fundraising for everybody to stop those campaigns so if she can have her global warming.
I think Kayla assisted her in that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's not surprising coming from Becca, being that she's comfortable in this weather, but yet when it dips below 87 degrees, that she's absolutely frozen.
But I want everyone to understand we are good.
That's good. We hope all you podcast watchers and listeners are also good in handling this weird time of summer that we're in with the blazing hot heat. We want to give a couple shouts to our watchers and listeners. Joseph Lewis, coming off his first career feature win just a couple weeks ago in the NX Legend. Thank you for checking us out, along with Brenda Dosh, one of our friends over in Mandan, and also Amanda Carlsrud, Brody Carlsrud's mother, checking out the podcast. I'm sure the little new graphic that was made up of Brody's new race car kind of got her attention. So
I'm sure. I'm
Which
sure
one?
Jessup was very much doing that.
Which graphic?
the how would you describe his new classic car or body style?
Platypus?
No, it was just the regular mail getter, but
Oh, well, that he's got to get the new chassis, new setup for next year. We're in deep conversation with Brett Rudd and IMCA and Dave Bren, try to get that in there. It's technically, I mean, we could make it fit somehow.
they don't need any more ideas for exotic looking chassis. And
Well,
on that note, why don't we get things started with the waving horn drop of the green flag and get right into who or what we are repping. John, who or what are you repping?
Okay, well, this past weekend was a big NLRA event up in Manitoba. So they were up at the Dead Horse Creek Speedway, and what they were doing was having 2 day show up there this past weekend, and a couple of drivers that are on my shirt were there. I am repping Peterson Racing. It is with Joey Peterson, as well as Tucker Peterson and Kelsey Peterson. So, unfortunately, Tucker wasn't there this weekend. It was Cole Babcock that was running his car. But guys, I gotta show you the back of the shirt. Back of the shirt is super nice.
I remember seeing these when they were getting sold, and I'm like, dang, I should have gotten one.
why
That's
didn't
a
you, Mason?
I don't know. I was not thinking clearly when they were selling them because there's a lot of pink on that shirt.
There's
I
a
wa-
very, very, very nice shirt. It's a lot of neon bright colors.
Which actually, that's kind of a dummy move on me because you got that at the sites, didn't you? He said.
I did. I got it at the sites.
Again, wasn't thinking.
Nope,
Not bad, just
nope.
disappointed.
I mean, to think about it, Mason was probably still trying to figure out where he was going to sit in the grandstands. I mean, I took a picture of his spot, but he probably wasn't there.
Sometimes that weekend honestly is a blur because I also ran a half marathon on Saturday morning, and so I remember seeing John very briefly. But honestly, it was kind of a I don't know. I was kind of blinded when I was sitting in the stands too. Anyways, Jessup, what are you repping?
Well, you see, Mason, it's hot out, and what produces heat? The sun. And we're rocking an old retro
Ooh,
Sunshine State modified tour from 2016. And yeah, it's hot. If you haven't noticed, I don't like hot unless it's hot racing action.
you know what, Jessup? You know how you can tell if the tracks are overheated? You could use that screwdriver.
Oh, I got one right here, John.
Anyways, nice shirt, Jessup. That's a nice little throwback. That's already 10 years ago now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it is pretty
That's nuts.
crazy. It is.
Awesome. Well, for the gear that I'm representing Weston Olson on the hat. Did a lot of sprint car racing this past weekend. Looked like he had a pretty decent weekend. I don't know his exact results, but based on the luck he's had the last few weeks, I think he's rolled a couple of times, and so I feel like just getting through the weekend clean was kind of his goal. So repping him on the hat. And then one of the events I attended this last weekend was the Mackenzie Kopecky Memorial that took place down at the Dakota State Fair Speedway in Huron, South Dakota. And there were a bunch, and I mean a bunch of these shirts in the stands.
There, it's
First,
nice, Mason. It's really nice.
first running of that event, and they pulled out all the stops for that event. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the track pack report. But that is who or what we are repping for this episode. And we will move right into the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind. Giving a shout out to Isaac Sandro on the 12S IMCA Modified, took this last weekend off of racing. He was busy in his hometown of Turtle Lake for Turtle Days, I believe, the week before. And so, with it being blazing hot, he's not a big fan of this hot weather either. And so, I'm sure he didn't mind not having to sit inside a hot race car on some of these race nights. But be sure to follow his racing, 12S Racing, on Facebook to stay up to date on his results and whereabouts. And if you see him at the track, be sure to stop on down at the Saunders Snack Shack, as they always have some good food and good treats to try out. And so thank you, Isaac, for your support on the podcast. Alrighty, so I believe John and I have some selections for the hot sauce segment this week. Jessup, do you have any?
I was leaving it up to Becca, and then as you can see,
Just
I think no
disappeared.
Becca.
She
She
was
had a
a
flat
no.
tire, and then the car wouldn't start, so she was just one of those parks. Not even start and park, just a park.
Pretty much.
So I will start because I know John has quite a few. So let me share the two I have on here, and then I'm going to go to my shirt for the last one. So this is your NASCAR one, if it's visible on your
Is
screen.
is that McMurray?
Nope, it is not McMurray. This was driven by a pretty popular Cup Series driver who's won multiple championships at the highest level.
Hmm.
This is a 2004 car.
Uh,
Was it
like
Harvick?
Nope. He owned a Cup Series team.
Tony Stewart.
There you go.
I don't remember that car for Tony, but good guess, Jessup.
Yep.
Only people I ever when he said multiple championships, I was like, well, okay, Jimmy, Tony, maybe Harvick.
And Harvick may have driven the 92. I can't remember exactly which Busch Series team this was specifically for, but I remember Tony being in this car for a couple races. My other dirt track picture is this one.
Oh, we've seen this one before.
We have Jessup. Go ahead.
I can't think of the name.
Is Gruchinski?
Yeah, Ed.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know it's a Krasinski, but I'm like, oh, this is a fun picture.
It is. It's a sharp looking car.
A very nice looking late model. I never saw that one in person though, but I wish I would have.
Well, who's the first name, John?
I don't know.
You don't know? It's okay.
Ed.
I don't know if it's Ed Krasinski. It is
It's not
Krasinski.
Ed. Did you
Time.
find it, Mason?
No, I, I had this ready to go last week, but I totally forgot who it was. So
All right.
it's a cool late model. So I had mentioned, or Becca mentioned, how Byron loved my Dakota Classic Modified Tour shirt from 1998. So for the last portion of my hot sauce, can you name the 6 tracks that were part of the 1998 schedule?
Jamestown.
That is
Dakota
not one of them,
Speedway.
actually.
Dakota
Mm-mm.
Speedway.
Dakota Speedway is one of them, yes.
Why not?
No,
S
next
That's
Speedway.
2. Yep.
Estevan.
Yes, man is not.
Oh, so then it's going to be Williston and
Yep.
Dickinson, and then Aberdeen.
Nope. The other 2 remaining are in North Dakota, so you got 4 out of the 6.
Mason Rugby was one of them, right?
Yeah.
Rugby's 5. There's one more.
Was Botno? Was it Bismarck?
It was Bismarck.
Oh wow.
Yep. It went Bismarck, Tamina, Williston, Dickinson, Mandan, and then Rugby. It looks like it was the last one. So that's a long haul on the last day. Interesting schedule layout for 1998. My, how
No
times have
doubt.
changed.
No
Yeah.
doubt. That's a huge change.
Yeah. So those are my selections for the hot sauce segment this week. John, you go ahead. Let me give you permission. I forgot to do that.
Yeah, you got to give me permission so I can start. I'm gonna do like I'll probably do like 4 or 5 here.
Sounds good. Okay, you should be good to go, sir.
Okay, give me 1 second here. I'll share my screen. Okay, first one. I'll make this bigger.
99.
Terry Barnes Auto Glass. Okay, so this is like a Bismarck area driver.
This isn't Strand, is it?
No, it is not Strand. This driver ran street stocks for many, many years.
Have I seen them race?
No, you would have never seen him race. And Mason, I don't even know if you would have seen him race.
Terry Lodgeland?
No, this is Kevin Snow.
I was not going to get that.
No, I was like, I don't know who was nicknamed the Snowman.
Yeah, Kevin used to running the street stocks many, many years. Aberdeen area, Jamestown area, Lisbon area. He was down there for many, many years in the street stocks. Always number 99.
That would be Jerry Reed, the snowman.
Oh, yes. Good Smokey and the Bandit reference.
Hmm.
Uh, is this a North Dakota or a South Dakota driver?
This is a right on the border of North Dakota, Minnesota driver.
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
well, that doesn't help me. Do they still race?
Yes,
Oh, well, that's a good hint.
They got a Thief River Falls, Minnesota sponsor. That
I mean, a couple of years ago they went 22nd to second at the sites.
Is this Peterson?
It is
oh,
Good for
Joey
me.
Peterson.
Look at that.
So Joey Peterson's super stock.
Hmm.
okay.
Joey was
That's a
top
cool
three in
looking
points
car.
one year for the super stocks too in national points.
That's actually a really sharp looking car for
It
back in the
is
day for the super
back in the
stock.
90s. It was really sharp. Yep,
I like those flat backs on them too.
I do too.
I like the old. Go back, John. I like the old sparkle numbers.
Yeah, because it's not the same as today when they do like the reflective vinyl or decals
Uh,
or whatever it is.
Not even
No,
close.
no,
Is this Scott Paulson?
it is.
I was gonna say that sounded exactly who I thought it was. I wasn't gonna get the name, but
I
good point.
like the way that street stock looked.
That is
Red.
a yeah, that red, that tone of red. I believe that's Aberdeen in the
It
background.
is. Yep, it is. So, and it was like back in the mid 90s.
I technically saw him this week.
You did.
Now we've done this one before because this is Jody Michelson.
Okay. I had a couple in here that I had like in the mix. So I was like, I bet you we'll probably go through one that has been said already.
Hmm. 57. Is that? I want to say like a stork.
It almost looks like a stork, but it actually isn't one of the storks.
Oh,
Is it
It's
Dwight
got a
Wagner?
very similar.
the
No,
numbers look similar.
the driver was a very good modified driver and ran late models a little bit, but more modified driver out of like Winnipeg.
Oh,
Oh,
Kevin Sexton.
Yes, it is. Yep. That's from
all
like the
the
mid 90s.
That's a Daryl Waltrip scheme.
Do you also like how the look of the super stock was way different then?
Yep. Don't know.
Blaine Doppler.
It is Blaine Doppler.
Wow.
And my last one.
Okay, that's Dwight Wagner.
That's
Yeah.
Dwight Wagner.
Oh, I got him.
So that's a classic Dwight Wagner scheme. I mean, he had that kind of that similar blue for quite a while.
Yes, he did. Yep. And that is the old modified days.
That is a yeah. That's a
Old mod.
that thing will definitely not look like it gets hooked up on the right rear end or have the left
No.
rear all hiked up. Awesome. Well, that is who or what we are repping for this episode. And we'll move into the Track Packer Report, which is presented to you by Paul Bunyan Mini Storage out of Bemidji, Minnesota. Of course, you can always store all with Paul. They have 3 convenient locations around the Bemidji, Minnesota area to store all your trinkets, your seasonal belongings. There's climate controlled, all different size units for your various needs. Did get to see Dean Eggebron race up at Bemidji this past Sunday. He had literally just come back from Florida to shake the rust off again, like mere 2 hours before race time. So he basically got there and got right in the race car. And so it's good to see him, although for a brief moment. But definitely go check out Paul Bunyan Mini Storage, see what kind of selections they have for your storage needs. Of course, we're all accumulating stuff these days, and eventually we're going to run out of room in our apartments and our homes, or unless you're like John, you have all sorts of room. But thank you again, Dean Eggebrun, for all your support of the podcast as well. All right, so starting off with a actually kind of normal-ish week now that we're off a mod tour, kind of throw things for a loop. I started off the weekend over in Wilmer at the KRA Speedway for the Street Stock Tour, the first of 2 nights for the weekend. They ran 5 classes instead of the normal 7, so things moved a little bit quicker, but definitely had some cautions throughout the night, and it was a hot and humid night. And then once the sun went down, the wind went down with it, and then the bugs came out. So went from being hot and humid to miserable and annoying all at the same time. But the racing action was pretty good throughout the entirety of the night. The Pure Stocks kicked things off with young rookie Trevin Carr in the 16 machine. I believe that is his first career feature win. And he held off Matt Warman and Brady Hagan to do that. So congratulations to Trevin Carr on his first career feature win. The Street Stocks were on the track. They had 19 total cars in attendance. A guy that showed up pretty late to the night, Keith Tourville, he's been on a hot streak as of late. He literally got to the track when the first heat of Street Stocks was already on the speedway. And so he tagged the back of the last heat, went from the back to the front to win that race, and then he had a very spirited battle with Justin Vogel for a long time in that race. And it came down to the last couple of corners where Justin was tracking him down along with Levi Rant. And Justin threw it into turn 3 on the last lap, got in a little too hot and got into the side of Keith, and they both spun out. Levi Rant got collected. Vogel got charged with a caution, so he had to go to the tail for the green-white checker, and then Keith Tourville would go on to get the feature win in front of Joe Martin, going from 8th to 2nd, and Ethan Imes, another local over there. That was the 7th different winner on tour for the Street Stocks. So very competitive race, and of course, a little bit of late race drama added to the flair, so definitely interesting for the Street Stocks. In the Midwest Modifieds, it was Landon Rant who put a whooping on the field as he run the race in front of Justin Bjorklund and Ryan Flotten in the 15 machine. Super Stocks went to Eric Martini. I believe he's only been out a handful of times in that Super Stock because it looks pretty brand new when I saw it on the track. And he basically kept a consistent gap between himself and Dexton Cook for the entirety of that race, and so he got the feature win in the Super Stocks. And in the KRA Hornets, it was Braxton Schmitz in the 26 machine, finishing in front of Christian Cast and Cole Fredine to finish out the night down in Wilmer on Thursday. So then moving over to Friday, heading over to the Dakota Speedway as they were back in action after the mod tour. Jessup, how did Friday night go over in Mandan?
It was hot. The night started hot, but it was nice by what would you say, John? Post intermission?
Yeah, maybe even before that, it wasn't too bad. So somewhere within there, it kind of was overcast all day. So the heat and humidity kind of stayed together, and then it got a little bit sunny before we started, so it heated up a little bit, and then when the sun started like going behind the trees, Jessup, is when it started getting pretty nice.
I would agree. Go ahead, John. Explain what the night was.
Well, I will
Well, then I
say
had lots. But
I thought there were some folks that were
Oh, it was
saying
Hall
it
of
was
Fame day.
cold.
Oh, that
yeah, I
was
mean it was cold. I mean Becca was cold. She was just in her flannel already, like she's ready for winter.
yeah. Sounds about right. As I sit in the
Yes,
basement where it's ice cold.
yes. Well, we had 99 cars, almost 100 cars. We had a Hall of Fame induction, or Hall of Fame notice, I should say. It was Hall of Fame night. Hall of Fame notice of the upcoming 2026 inductees. So that was kind of cool down front. And then we had a water balloon fight
Yep.
down there as well. And the kids had a great time with that. And so did some of the track workers. So that was kind of fun to see. Um, in your slingshots, it was Caden Davenport picking up another future win. I know, Mason, you're surprised. Don't be surprised. So it was Caden Davenport and Landon Hallgren, your top two. In
Okay.
and also Bridget Keller was on the podium. Congratulations to Bridget.
Yep.
And then we did intermission, where we had a lot going on during intermission. They redid the entire track. The hobbies came out, and that was a pretty good race for the hobbies.
Mhm.
So hobbies had 15 cars. They were clean and green. Never had a caution during that race. It was Kelly Horner who took over the lead. Kind of from the beginning of that race, held on to it for a while until he had Derek Appert catch him. Derek got around him, and then Joseph Feist was right on Appert the whole time. Those two drivers were side by side in the heat race as well, and it was Derek Appert who held off Joseph Feist for the win. So congratulations to Derek on a win again in Mandan. Then next up was your legends. It was a battle up front between Preston Martin, Ty Olson, um, some carnage on lap one. Casey Martin spun in front of the field on lap one in turns three and four. The Mather brothers both got involved in that wreck. Noah actually had to go in the pits and get a bumper replaced. Came back out, drove through the field to come back up to finish fourth. But it was Preston picking up another win in the Legends. Ty Olson was in second. Austin Weiss third. Noah Mather fourth. And nice move from Bryce Barnhart. He started 15th and got up to fifth. So good race for those drivers. Then in our stock car race was actually kind of a fun one to watch. We had some new players up front. And Justin would even agree with that too, to where Chris the Crowbar Tusher brought his stock car out from tour and came to play with the stock car on Friday night and looked very good. And it was Andrew Yoakum who ended up picking up the win in a hard fought battle with him and Chris Tusher. Jeff Hellman and Matt Dosh were right in the mix. And then I was watching kind of the battle for fifth because they were three wide multiple times between Todd Carter, Brenner Grinstead, and Travis Ulmer back there in the battle for the top five. But yeah, it was Andrew Yoakum who picked up the win in that Fury chassis. And finally, it was your modifieds. We had 18 modifieds in attendance, and the modified race took a bit to get going. 3 and 4 was tricky. We had wreck after wreck after wreck in 3 and 4, and it was all pretty much people up front that were spinning out by themselves in 3 and 4. So luckily not a whole lot of damage there, a little bit, but it was Jeremy Keller who picked up back-to-back wins in Mandan because he won at the end of June as well during one of our regular shows, and Jeremy picked up where he left off last season. Looks really good right now in that 11K, and he was your future winner over Travis Tooley in second. Zach Frederick in third, Mark Dahl, nice run for Mark in the top four, along with Scott Gartner fifth, and Sean Strand was one of those drivers involved in one of those wrecks over there in 3 and 4, and sixth, and Chris Pittenger, another one involved in a wreck over there in 3 and 4, was seventh. So those guy drivers came back up through the field a little bit to finish right there in the top seven. But that was Mandan. We had a little bit of character in the track on Friday night, which was kind of fun to see because they had to navigate kind of turns one and two with a little bit of the character that was over there and provided for some very much options and different passing zones in the track.
Nice. Sounds like a fun night over in Mandan. They're getting ready for the Gulf Cup here in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep. Yep. July 31st and August 1st.
Nice.
Two complete shows.
Good deal. Meanwhile, also on Friday, I was over at the Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo, Minnesota. That was the second night of the Street Stock Tour for the weekend. And another hot night. They actually pushed the start time back to 7:30 to kind of alleviate with some of the heat because it was in the mid-90s and super humid. The weather actually cooled off quite a bit. There was a nice breeze that came in about just before intermission. The only problem was it brought in a whole bunch of wildfire smoke, so that was a little bit of a nuisance to deal with. But I think everyone was kind of comfortable with it being cooler temperatures and not having to sweat our butts off for the night. They had 5 classes running. There were local pure stocks, Midwest modifieds, street stocks, Hornets, and Gen X late models were also a special guest. The pure stocks had a pretty good race. I only got to see the back half of it, but I saw Jesse Tim in the 77T. He's only been out a couple of times this year, and he was holding off about a 6-pack worth of drivers, and he looked really good to get the feature win, his first of the season in front of Ian Jaden and Ashton Martin. The Midwest Modifieds were next on the track, and honestly, this was a fun race to watch because the track, typically when it's hot, people are expecting the track to kind of dry out, and that was not the case on Friday in Montevideo. There was a lot of moisture and a lot of speed. And the Midwest Modifieds showed that off as Dawson Zabel and Landon Rand put on an absolute torrid pace to start that race. They were about a half a lap in front of the third place car. And they were already hitting lap traffic probably 6 to 8 laps into the race. And they had a caution with about 6 to go and then a couple more. later on to kind of make things tighten up. And landed through a couple of slider attempts at Dawson, but Dawson was able to fend off every charge, and he would get the feature win. Ranch finishing in second, and Corey Stork, who's kind of been a little bit hit or miss on racing this summer, ended up in third. So good run for Corey Stork to round out the top three. Then your street stock tour was on the track. 25 cars checked in, and they ran them all. And there was a lot of attrition in this race, both just from on-track stuff and then also just random mechanical failures. We had several heavy hitters that suffered some sort of misfortune, starting with Eric Riley and Colton Brower, two of the heavy hitters. Colton didn't really see what happened. It looked like he may have broken a ball joint 2 laps in, and I believe Eric Riley got pinched in the wall on lap 2, so they were out right away, and Colton even started on the pole, so that was a really tough break for Colton, who's going for tour points. Then later on in the race, we had contact between Mike Jans and Levi Rant, which ended up with Levi in the wall, and unfortunately his night was done. He was running second at the time of that. And then also Tommy Pagonis, also leading the points coming into the weekend, broke a lower ball joint running second, so that knocked him out of contention. All this took place behind a very, very tough competitor down at Fiesta City, which is Justin Vogel. He was looking for his first tour win heading into the night, and that is one of his prime tracks. And he had a front row starting spot, and he was in front of all the chaos. He didn't really have any challengers on this night, and he would get his first win on tour this season. Cody Coomer from Medford, Wisconsin finished in second, and Cameron Rose with a good run from 14th up to third. He's also going for tour points as well. Shout out to Landon Albertson. Almost won his heat race, finished in fourth in the feature. Good run for rookie Landon, and then Cody Hatch 23rd to 5th in that race.
Pretty darn good.
So a lot of passing, a lot of attrition, and just a lot of weird stuff happening in that street stock race. The Gen X late models were next on track, and it was kind of similar to the street stocks where there was a bunch of chaos. The first half of the race went by quick. Parker Gilbertson pretty much set a torrid pace from the get-go. They had a caution midway through, and on the restart, they basically piled up the entire field with 2 cars. Thankfully, everyone was okay, but that was a long, long cleanup. And so then it turned into the Parker Gilbertson show until they got to lap traffic. And he was being very patient because he had a pretty sizable lead up to this point in front of Rick Schroeder. But he was a little too cautious trying to navigate cars that were side by side in front of him. And Schroeder took that opportunity to pounce. They swapped the lead on the last lap, and Schroeder edged Parker out at the line by 14 thousandths of a second.
Wow.
Yes, so Parker is going to be he's going to be thinking about that one for a little while. But congratulations to Rick Schroeder on the win. He's got a sharp-looking car this year too. Pictures don't do it justice on how good that car looks up close. And then your Hornets went to the 40 of William Lang. He's got that track figured out. He pretty much had a straightaway on the entire field. Even after a mid-race restart, he had no challengers, and so that finished out the night at Fiesta City. Also want to give a shout out to not only the track for pushing back the start time, but also one of the local sponsors, Consumers Co-op, as they provided free water for people in the stands and in the pits. So that went a long way to making sure everyone was staying hydrated and healthy on Friday night. So that was Friday night action. Saturday, Jamestown Speedway hosting the championship night, I believe, of the Mary Vetter Challenge. So how did Jamestown go on Saturday, John?
Yeah, we had 106 cars. We had a very good field of fans in the grandstands as well as people in the pits, and 27 hobbies to end the Mary Vetter. So Mary Vetter was really popular this year from Jamestown perspective, right? They had 3 races over there. It was 28, 28, and 27 for car counts. So great car counts over there from the Jamestown side. Well, let's actually start with your slingshot. Slingshots was a very interesting race. I have to say that because your field was 9 drivers. And what was interesting about that field, Mason, was that there were 5 females in that field, 4 males in that field.
That's a nice little
So
fun fact.
it was more of a girl dominated field. And the girls put a whipping on the boys. They were top 3.
Nice.
So yep. So it was Aubrey Ettinger who picked up the win, Haley Keller in second, and Libby Keller in third.
That's
So
awesome.
good finish there for the ladies, and then Bridget Keller, first time in Jamestown, and she did very nice too. Within her 9K, she's still getting her feet wet. Really young within that car, and good to see her out on the track and getting experience. She looked really good in Mandan a couple weeks ago. She looked really good last week Friday in Mandan, getting the top 3, and looked pretty good in Jamestown for her first time over there. So it was Aubrey who won on her birthday. Then we
Ooh.
went to the hobbies because we had a lot of pre-race intermission information that was going on with our sponsor, which thank you to I3G Media for being their presenting sponsor. We did a watermelon crawl. We did a lot of t-shirt giveaways. Joe Jacobson did bikes, so we did a bike giveaway. And thank you to Joe and his team as well for sponsoring the bikes. But while they did that, they completely redid the whole entire track, completely farmed it. And when the hobby stocks and bombers came out, it was pretty tacked up. And the Mary Vetter Challenge, Brandon Vetter and his wife do a great job with that in memory of his mom. The Vetter family as a whole is involved with it, and a lot of sponsors that help out too. So really appreciative for the Mary Vetter. And it was Kelly Horner who didn't know this. I'm actually going to release it today. Kelly won that feature event. He was your points leader going into the night. By finishing top two in his heat, he clinched the points. So he had the points clinched before he even had to start the feature to be the
Ooh.
champion. Kelly did not know that, and I don't think he still knows it. So I'll have to let him know that when I see him next time if he doesn't watch the podcast. But yes, Kelly had it clinched before he even hit the track for the future. But Kelly has Jamestown figured out. He looked really good. He got around Travis Ettinger. Those two were battling for the lead. It was Billy Carroll and Kelly Horner that started on the pole and on the front row, and Kelly just took his time and got around Ettinger through lap traffic and held on to pick up the win. And it was a dogfight from about second through about sixth in that feature event to see who was going to finish in the top two. And it was Kelly who picked up the points championship. Travis Ettinger was second on the track on Saturday night. In the points, it was actually Brody Michelson who was second in the Vetter Challenge points. And I believe Carly Horner was third, if I'm not mistaken, in the Vetter Challenge final points. So really good runs for those drivers over there from the points fund because points fund was big this year. It was $1,000 for a point for first place in that points fund. But yeah, really entertaining feature. They only had a couple cautions and really good racing in the Bomber and Hobby Stock feature event. Then we moved on to your Midwest Modifieds, and that was a fun race because you had Aaron Michael, who's second in points right now, started up front on the front row after the redraw and got the lead, and he had to hold off the likes of Jared Klein and Brennan Waite, and they were railing the high side. There was a lot of moisture in one and two. There was a little berm up there, and they were railing the berm in one and two. There was also a strip through the middle that Jared Klein was sticking onto, so Jared would get a really good run. Three and four, it was kind of funny. One and two was a little bit tacked up from like the top through the middle, even into the bottom. Three and four was more the dry slick type of the track. Pretty smooth and dry slick in three and four. So it was really interesting to watch on how one and two was pretty technical on how you had to get through one and two. Three and four, you could slide for days. So and still pick up moisture on the top side, and also limp around the bottom as well. So yeah, so kind of interesting on how the two different types of the corners were two different dynamics. But Brennan threw everything at Aaron, and Aaron picked up his first win of 2026 at Jamestown. In the Legends next, your Legends race, they started that feature and they were basically 3 to 4 wide until the caution came out early in that feature event. And then it was interesting because a lot of drivers migrated towards the bottom then and never really left the bottom. So it was Andrew Bargman that picked up the win after holding off a hard charging Austin Weist on his birthday on Saturday night to pick up his basically Andrew's been back to back in his two previous appearances in Jamestown. He won the Legendary Tour when it was there, and then he was back this past Saturday, and he's gone basically back-to-back wins when he's entered Jamestown. So congratulations to Andrew Bargman on picking up another big win, and he's our defending champion over in Jamestown, and Austin Weister, current points leader, in second, and also his birthday on Saturday night. Then in your street stocks, that was a fun race because the groove was all over. They were top side, they were middle, they were bottom. The driver I was kind of watching more than anything else was obviously you have to watch Cole Gresseth, right? He started eighth on the field, so he redrew the number eight during the redraw. And usually Cole has been starting pretty much in the first two rows, started a little bit deeper on there, got himself up to third. He just was not able to get enough traction from the bottom to get up there and challenge Bob Banish Jr. because Bob Banish Jr. used the high side to perfection. And Mason, we've seen it many, many times. Bob's back into racing this year, and it's so nice to have him back with his son
Mm-hmm.
Joey back in the street stocks. But when Bob can rail the high side, he is tough to beat, and he was tough to beat on Saturday night. He was stretching it out. Casey Status ran second a lot of times. Casey actually got too high going into three. Didn't know that he was having distributor problems on the car, so he was trying to keep the momentum built up. he got over the banking in 3 and 4 and just called it the feature event with like 4 to go. So tough break for Casey as he was battling for a top five spot. But yeah, it was Bob that held off the likes of Jody Michelson and Cole Gressa. They had a caution with about 5 to go, and they were three wide for several laps after that until Bob kind of stretched out a little bit from front and ended up picking up his first win in Jamestown for the 2026 season. Then in your modifieds, we had 21 modifieds check in, so that was a really good field of modifieds on Saturday night, and it was Travis Tooley who was in another zip code almost all night. Travis picked up his heat win over Sean Strand. Strand was in attendance again on Saturday night as well, and then went on to pick up the feature win. He held off the likes of Jeremy Keller, who was cracking him down, and but never really could do anything with him. And then at the end of the race, it was Marcus Tomlinson who really came on. So Marcus was rail on the high side in 1 and 2 and was really able to get through 3 and 4 really well. And I wonder if we would have had a long green flag run if he would have been able to do anything with Tooley. But Tooley kind of had like 3 car lengths that whole time during that feature event. So it was nice to see Travis back in victory lane up in Jamestown. He was runner up on season opener night, but Travis won. It was Marcus in second, Jeremy Keller third, Sean Strand fourth, and Lindsey Hansen freshly brand new wrap paint scheme. Love that paint scheme. Lindsay had that on his late model a few years back. Looks even better on the modified.
Mm-hmm.
And he was top five. So Lindsay had a good night in that 32H machine on Saturday. So yeah, so good racing. The mods were all over the track on Saturday night, as well as the streets and everything else. And it was a good night overall in Jamestown. We got done right before 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I saw some pictures and a couple of videos, and yeah, that track looked to be pretty good all night. It's one of those nights where I'm like, dang, I wish I was there, but I was another place where I had a good time too. So it's hard to be in multiple places at once.
Yeah, it had a little bit of character through 1 and 2, but honestly, it was not super rough by any means with anything on Saturday night. It was more kind of more options is what it gave the drivers.
Awesome. Well, at the same time that was going on, I was straight south of you, although it was probably 3 hours straight south. I went
It
all the way
was.
down to Huron, South Dakota. My second time there this year with the new promoters taking over that racetrack. They had the first or the inaugural Mackenzie Kopechme Memorial Superstock Special. They did a lot of work to get this event as big as possible. They had a really great turnout of fans, great turnout of Superstocks. I believe they had 26 in total, so a very good field of cars. And they sold out of 50/50 tickets. They were sold out of all the shirts, and just a great event and great night to celebrate the life of Mackenzie, who we lost too soon to brain cancer, unfortunately. But her legacy lives on, and you could definitely tell all the work and the effort that was put in. So just wanted to get down there at least one more time this year, especially for an event like that. And overall, it was a pretty good night. It was another warm one. It cooled off pretty nicely, though. There was a nice breeze, especially when you weren't in the stands. If you were in the stands, there was like no breeze. But being down on the racetrack in the pits was pretty comfortable as the night went on. And they had their 4 regular classes with sort of street stocks, Midwest mods, late models, and super stocks. The street stocks were first on hand with 20 in attendance. They've actually had a really solid car count down there all year in the streets. So 20 solid competitors. They had a few travelers from the Madison area since Madison was off on Saturday checking out the place. And the street stocks went clean and green. And it was a great battle between Matt Goth and Brock Stout. Matt Goth, who started on the front row, and Brock Stout, who started outside row number 3, methodically passing one car up to another. And he got around Matt with about 4 or 5 laps to go and went on to get the feature win. He was really excited in victory lane. So nice to see Brock back in his winning ways in the 49 machine. Goth finishing in second, followed by James Hoying in third. Alex Grinauger, first time racing at Huron, finished in fourth along with Dylan Arndt over at Ortonville in fifth. So pretty solid top 5 group of drivers right there. Midwest Modifieds came down to a battle between Dawson Zabel, who had won the previous night over at Fiesta City, and Lane Johnson, the 3 junior out of Miller. And Lane's been snake bit with mechanical trouble throughout this entire summer and just trying to get things figured out. And he was pretty fast on this night. Dawson was throwing everything he could at him, got beside him a few times, but Lane was just calm, cool, and collected, held his ground. He got the feature win. Zabel finishing in second. Lauren Johnson, the Dirt Doctor, finishing third, followed by Luke Johnson. So it was a Johnson family affair in the top 4. And Jamie Peterson finishing in fifth. Late models were up next as they left the super stocks to close out the program, and there's a little bit of late race drama in this one as you had Josh Skorcheski take the lead over from Justin Carlin, the 51 machine, and then as the laps wound down, Mike Stern's Superman was starting to track down the 2S and got to about 4 laps to go, and the groove was around the bottom for the late models. And Josh missed the bottom by just a little bit off of turn 2. Stearns got alongside him heading off into turn 3, and the two made contact. And then Josh ended up spinning the car around in the middle of turns 3 and 4. And unfortunately, that was the end of the night for Josh because it looked like the nose was dragging into the track, and so just some damage and wasn't able to continue. So tough break for the 2S machine. And then Mike Stearns holding off Chad Becker on the green-white checker to get the feature win. And he's been on a roll lately in both the late model and the modified. And so he's going to be one to watch as the season gets on. And they got a big weekend coming up down in South Dakota as well. And then the Super Stocks took to the track, all 26 cars set to take the green flag. And got off to a little bit of a rough start. We had a couple multi-car pileups in the first few laps. Which unfortunately took out some competitors. No major damage, but unfortunate to see some torn up race cars. The front row after a redraw was Damon Hofteaser and Jordan Hankmeyer, who made the trip over from Minnesota. And Jordan got to the lead first. Great side-by-side battle for the first 2 laps between him and Bryson North. And then Trevor Nelson, who's the guy to beat over in South Dakota, there was actually a bounty on him. There's like a $2,000 to win the race itself, and if you were able to beat the 71 machine, I believe it was up to almost another $2,000. So you could win upwards of $4,000+ if you ended up with the feature win. And so Trevor got to the lead around Jordan. He had messed up after he made the initial pass, and then Jordan passed him back, but a caution came out. So that put Trevor in the lead. And so everyone's probably thinking like, all right, well, Trevor's in the lead. This is probably a wrap at this point. And he was starting to stretch it out. And all of a sudden, about the halfway point, the 71 car just off of turn 4 just darts to the infield. And everyone's like, oh, goodness. What just happened? The floodgates just opened because they were side by side from second on back. It's like, oh, now this is really anyone's race. It's like Hankmeyer's back in this, Bryson North. We had Austin Arbogast, Stuart Shipke. And so they were swapping positions for a couple of laps. Arbogast got to the lead. I think it was about 6 or 5 laps to go. He pushed in the middle of 3 and 4, and Stuart Shipke took advantage from his 8th starting spot to take the lead, and he went on to get the feature win and the massive payday for the Super Stocks. And it was kind of comical. They interviewed everyone at the redraw, and they would trade, kind of like do a little revenge thing, and Stuart ended up with 8 after trading like 2 times. And they asked him, like, how's your confidence, Stuart, going into this race? He's like, I don't know. We'll just see what happens. I'm not expecting to get up all the way to the front. Well, he ended up in the front, and that's a big win for that 33 car. And so big congrats out to Stuart Shipke on the feature win. Jordan Hankemeyer ended up in second, followed by Bryson North to close out the top 3. And just a great job by the Kopecky family and everyone involved to make that race night happen. And ended on a pretty fun note. So that was your night over in Huron, South Dakota. Now Sunday rolled around, and I know, John, you were toying with the idea of heading up to Underwood, but you ended up staying home, correct?
Yeah, we stayed home. I actually ended up working most of the day.
You're a hardworking man, especially with quarter end close and trying to get that all wrapped up. I'm sure that's a lot of busy times.
It was pretty hot and humid around in Bismarck on Sunday, so I'm like, yeah, it's time to kind of rehydrate and stay home.
I don't blame you there. I went up to Bemidji to finish out the weekend for their Meet the Drivers night, and it was a hot one up there too. Pretty good turnout of cars and a good turnout of fans. Of course, all the young little ones are happy on days like this. And I will say, for Meet the Drivers nights or days when it's hot like this, I'd recommend to drivers and teams, don't bring chocolate. Just not the greatest combination on a day like that, but
I think that's perfect, Mason. I mean, what is better than having a melted piece of chocolate in your hand or pocket?
yeah, when I saw a couple drivers have chocolate, it's like, yeah, they probably didn't think that all the way through. They're probably prepared well in advance because they were supposed to have this night a few weeks ago. They had all their regular classes in attendance. Your mini stocks went to the 6 of Conrad Schwinn in front of Ashton Schwinn. So he had a little Schwinn on Schwinn battle there. Ashton came from the 14th starting spot up to second, so came close to going from all the way back to the front. Midwest Modifieds, that went to the 32 of Brendan Schmidt. He authored a clean sweep on the night, so congratulations to Brendan Schmidt on the win there. In your Hornets, it was actually the 00 Travis Olofsson who came across the line first. Unfortunately, in tech inspection, he had a illegal part or something that was out. I can't remember what his post said, but unfortunately, he lost the win. That handed the win over to William Lang, who had also won on Friday at Fiesta City. So a couple of wins on the weekend for the number 40 machine. Pure Stocks. This was a really good race. It was Josh Bicker battling with Billy Binkley and Cade Leeper at the initial start, along with Kalen Binkley as well. And Billy got to lead after a fierce battle after several laps, but the car that's been the guy to beat is the 57 Austin Carlson. He had misfortune in his heat race, so he started basically dead last on the field. And he methodically worked his way to the front. They had one caution. Actually, he had taken the lead, I think, before that caution even came out. And so he went from the back to the front and got the feature win. So congratulations to Austin Carlson for basically doing the back row challenge. Actually, he did start dead last, 13th, and got to first in 12 laps. So good job to Austin. Modifieds, a clean sweep offered by the 2R of Jeff Reed. He looked pretty stout in that car all night long. Basota Mod Force went to the 18 of Ashton Schwinn from his 8th row starting spot. He held off rookie Dexon Haybraken and Conrad Schwinn to do that. Super Stocks, the 25 of Dylan Nelson closed out the night in front of Dalton Carlson and the T26 of Nick Lewis. And that was your results from Bemidji Speedway. Always have a great time going up there. Very, very, very kind people up there. And of course, I had to get some Chicken Shack on the way out, so I was definitely well fed on Sunday afternoon. And so that is your Track Packer report for this week. So now we move on to what's upcoming next for racing. I'm not exactly sure what happened to our North Dakota representative for scheduling. So we might have to do this together, John.
I think he must have, fell off the track.
He may have. He may have gone a little too
Maybe,
high.
maybe he got too high and he drove into the slough off of turns 3 and 4, or maybe even off of 1 and 2. Like they usually have that little water pad over there in Aberdeen. Maybe he's just stuck in that.
Was it 2 years ago that one of the stopovers ended up in the marsh out there in Jamestown?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Over in 3 and 4. Yes, it was 2 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, that
And
was
then Kelly
always.
Horner went flying almost over a tire that night too, almost into the slough as well.
That's right. That was a weird. I mean, bomber features are always interesting in Jamestown. That was really one of the more interesting ones.
That was very entertaining. For sure entertaining. So, okay, so Mason, let's talk about what we have upcoming here for the next basically week, right?
Yeah,
Because
we can
there's
just
a there's a
combine.
lot of there's a lot of big shows, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Let's
so what
see.
do you have upcoming on Thursday?
Thursday, we got a few tracks racing. We have Hall of Fame night up at Grand Rapids Speedway. KRA Speedway has their kids' night. A busy night over at the Norman County Raceway. They have their regular classes along with IMC and Modifieds. This will be the last time the IMC and Modifieds are at Norman County this season. And then the final appearance of the NLRA late models. So busy jam-packed night over in Ada on Thursday, and that's going to be one that fans probably won't want to miss. Uh, the Renegade Speedway is also racing down in Canby for their fair race, the one show that they get
Yep.
during the summer. And then Victory Lane Speedway closes out Thursday night.
Yeah, and then Friday we have a lot of tracks running, right? So we've got the River City Speedway. They're up and running with it's going to be basically, it's the Wayne Anderson Cup. It's one of their nights there for the NOSA 410 sprint cars. They also have the Wasota late models on tap, Wasota Street Stocks, and also Wasota Midwest Modifieds. So that'll be on Friday over there in Grand Forks. Over in Aberdeen at the Brown County Speedway, it is night one of two of the Rumble, as well as the Wasota Street Stock Tour. So, Mason, you were going to be down there on
Mm-hmm.
night one. They're also running the Tri-State Late Model Series. Will be in attendance. This will be night one of two for their big special here for the Rumble. And then they will also be running Wasota Midwest Modifieds as well as with NX Legends. So that'll be on night one for the Rumble with the Wasota Street Stock Tour. So you guys usually always get a great field of streets down there. I would expect no different here for on Friday night. Dakota Speedway is back in action. We are going to be having all of our five regular racing divisions in action with your hobby stocks, slingshots, IMCA Legends, IMCA Legends. Oh my gosh. IMCA
I'm
modifieds. Where's the
sorry.
caution? I
I'm
deserve a caution
sorry.
on that one.
That is legit caution.
Now, Mason, there's only one problem here. There's only one caution being thrown.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it.
We're
I'd have
required to
to.
have two.
I don't know what
Yes.
happens if we have. Would it count as a percentage? I'd have to look at the rule book.
Well, I really think we need to actually, Mason, throw a caution on the My Race Pass operator for Dakota Speedway.
Does it
And
actually say I'm?
the reason why I'm saying this is because if you look at the classes on Friday night, it's IMCA Modifieds, IMCA Stock Cars, Index Legends, Slingshots, and IMCA Hobby Stocks. I don't think it's IMCA Hobby Stocks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought you were going to caution on the guy that has suddenly disappeared from the lineup.
Well, that too. I mean, right? He's just gone. But
Yeah.
no. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Dakota Speedway Hobby Stocks, Slingshots, IMCA Modifieds, IMCA Stock Cars, and Index Legends. And then we also can't forget about the Estevan Motor Speedway. They have got a
Big
very
weekend.
big special this weekend. And in Mason, it is going to be a huge modified event up in Estevan. Estevan has it's going to be the Prairie Modified Nationals. It starts on Friday the 24th. It ends on Saturday the 25th. They are going to have a practice night on Thursday. So Thursday night they have practice from 6 to 9 over at the track. But that feature payout is 800 to start and it's 5,000 to win. And it's a very strong field for payouts throughout the entire field of the event. So Estevan usually always has a great track up there north of the border, so be sure to go check them out this weekend as they have several classes that are going to be running throughout the weekend up there in Estevan, but the modifieds are going to be your main focus area for that $5,000 win show.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun. This is the first year they're kind of doing this race night format. Definitely go to their Facebook page. They have a lot more details on how that's going to play out. But whether it's an American or Canadian money, that's a lot of money to be racing for and a really good, strong payout throughout the whole field.
That is very strong. We also have the Red Cedar Speedway is going to be racing in Menominee this weekend over there in Wisconsin. We also have Big Sky Speedway. They are going to be having a 2-day event over there in the Billings area. They do have actually a Legend special that's happening this weekend over there as well in Big Sky. And then other tracks, Mason, like Black Hill Speedway is going to be running down in Rapid City on Friday night. And Fiesta City Speedway has got a super stock special over there in Montevideo on Friday night, so be sure to check them out over there. I-94 is back in action over there in the Fergus Falls area. They're going to be racing on Friday night as well. And then if you keep going down the list here, I'm just actually going through my race pass right now with various areas. It looks like Park Jefferson is back down there in the Sioux Falls area. Princeton Speedway is going to be back up and running. They are actually going to be having, it looks like here, they have a Future Racers and Superhero Night over at the Speedway with all their regular divisions in action. So a lot of racing action happening on Friday this week. Be sure to stay hydrated because it is going to be a warm one out there on Friday.
Yep, and the one other event that you kind of touched on that I put a little extra highlight on is the Fastlane Superstock Series is over in Menominee. So they
Correct.
usually get a pile of super stocks specifically over there
They
for that
do.
one.
They do. Yep. Mason on to Saturday.
On to Saturday, so night two of the Dakota Rumble at Brown County Speedway with the Tri-State Late Model Series, the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour, and Legends will also be on the card over there. Cedar Lake Speedway has the IRA Sprint Cars. I think they'll get a pretty good car count of sprint cars. There's usually a few of our locals that head over there for that weekend, so they should have a pretty strong field over there. Devil's Lake Speedway is also running, I believe, or actually, no, I don't see them on.
Devil's Lake is running. They got the
Oh, yes, they
Midwest
are.
Modified Special this weekend. Yep.
Yes, it's their Golden Hammer. There we go. I was like, I thought I
Yep.
saw that they were racing, but yeah, the Golden Hammer. They usually get a good turnout for that race as well. They're racing for, I believe, it's $2,000 to
I
win.
think so. Yeah, I think
So
so.
night two of the Prairie Modified Nationals up in Estevan, like we touched on. Jamestown is racing. I believe it's their regular racing division, so normal point sign over
Yep.
in Jamestown. Madison Speedway is also running their regular divisions after a week off, including the Gen X late models. So Gen X late models, they kind of travel on with their series. So a couple visits over to Madison, including this week. North Central Speedway is in action with their normal Saturday night program. And while on the subject of North Central Speedway, definitely want to send our thoughts out to James Trantina, who got in a side by side accident this past Sunday at the Granite City Motor Park. The good news is he is on the mend in the hospital. He's got several injuries, so it's going to be a lengthy recovery for him, but good to hear that he made it out of there. Basically the best we could have hoped for based on what was initially heard. So definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers over to the Trantina family and everyone involved at the Granite City Motor Park, North Central Speedway, and also I-94 Speedway, which he owns and operates now. So a lot
Yep.
on his
He's
plate.
got to heal up. He's got to rest up and heal up because I know James wants to get back to it, but no, you need to take some time to heal up for sure.
Yeah, yeah. If you know James at all, he's a go getter, and so he'll be fighting to get back to the racetrack and jump in any way he can to continue to promote the sport that he loves. Ogilvy Raceway has Hawaiian Night in their weekly racing divisions. I love like that Ogilvy and Princeton have like theme nights throughout the summer.
Yes.
That's fun to kind of keep things spicy and fun for the race fans. Rice Lake Speedway is also back after a week off. I believe they might
It's
have
the
the
fast. Yep.
yep
It's the
Super
Fastlane
Stocks.
Super Stocks series. Yep.
They have a busy couple weeks coming up. We'll touch on that in just a minute too. And then Viking Speedway also had this last weekend out, but they're back with their Hall of Fame night and vintage cars to round out your Saturday.
Yes. That looks
Then
like
we have,
everything for Saturday.
and
It's a
then
busy
Sunday.
Saturday. There's a lot of tracks running Saturday.
Yeah, there is.
Sunday, there's quite a few running too. So Buffalo River is back on Sunday, with all of their regular racing divisions. They're going to have Kids Night, and it's also going to be the Boxcar Bash as well out there on this Sunday. So they'll have all their regular divisions back in action over there in Glendon. The Granite City Motorplex is back up and running on Sunday. They are going to be having boxcar races as well this upcoming weekend over there at their track in the Sock Rapids area. And all of their regular divisions will be back in action this weekend as well. Fusitz is going to be running. They're back up and running on Sunday. They're going to be having the Midwest Sprint Touring Series. That's going to be down there on this upcoming Sunday. So be sure to check them out. Fusitz always puts on a great show, especially if you are a sprint car fan. We are going to be having, it looks like here, Mason, do we have Casino Speedway is up and running as well this weekend?
Yep.
They look like they're going to be also having Toys for Tots night down there at the Casino Speedway in Watertown. And it looks like they're going to have all their regular divisions back in action this upcoming Sunday. Let's see, what else do we have on the calendar for Sunday? Proctor is going to be racing. They are going to be having their first responders and rescue night over there in Proctor. Redwood Speedway is going to be running on Sunday. They have Wasota Street Stocks back on the schedule. They're over in Redwood Falls, Minnesota, so be sure to check them out. They're this upcoming
Also,
Sunday.
they added street stocks for every race for the remainder of the year now over there.
So be sure to check that out if you're looking for, especially national points for streets. That's a good track to go over there and kind of hit up from a national points perspective. Looks like Sheridan Speedway, they are going to be having sprints down there in Sheridan, Wyoming on this upcoming Sunday. So that kind of covers off on the tracks for the Sunday time frame as well. And again, race fans, it's going to be warm, so be sure to just stay hydrated from all those tracks and have a good weekend at a racetrack because there's a lot of racing upcoming and happening this upcoming weekend.
Oddly, no North Dakota tracks running on Sunday.
Nothing North Dakota related on Sunday at all, which like you said, Mason, is a little bit odd from that piece of it. I think on Friday we missed Fix It Forward too. Red
We
River Valley
did.
is Fargo is back up and running on Friday, so they're also going to be racing over there in the Fix It Forward Speedway on this upcoming Friday after their fair. So the Red River Valley Fair is done, and the racing action is starting back up over there in the West Fargo area.
Yep. So plenty of racetracks back in action because this last weekend was a little bit weird with a lot of tracks taking off, whether it was on the schedule, and I know a couple of tracks took off because of the heat and the weather, and so back to a regular form as we get into the later part of July and early part of August, and then we're kind of winding down like the regular part of this season schedule. But we still have some special races coming up, including this up next Tuesday, week from tomorrow when we're recording this. the Street Stock Little Dream or at Rice Lake Speedway, which I've attended the last several years, and I plan to attend once again. I'm curious, John, who are you thinking is going to be a couple of your top contenders for the big payday?
Oh boy, that's a hard one, Mason. But Keith Tourville is one of my main picks. Keith has been tough all year long. He actually won the Street Stock Tour race, like you said, Mason, over there in KRA on Thursday, and I believe he took the rest of the weekend off. Did he run on Sunday in Redwood
Yes,
Falls?
he clean swept in Redwood on
Okay.
Sunday.
Yep, because he was not feeling well after Thursday. He was
Yeah.
just under the weather and did not run Friday night at all. Did not run Saturday night at all, but had two basically two big wins so far this weekend. On this past weekend, and he's going to be tough because he did cross the line first last year and then was DQ'd in post race tech. But I think he's going to be a tough contender for sure for the win. Nick Trainer is another one of mine that I'm going to pick, depending on if Nick is running his own car or if he's going to run one of the Herman's cars. But I feel he's going to be tough no matter what over there, especially in the Rice Lake area. And then another one of my picks that I'm going to be keeping kind of an eye on over there is kind of a dark horse maybe a little bit because he's out there in national points. It's Cole Gresseth is going this year, and Cole's going to be, I believe, one of those maybe dark horses. And it's hard to say that because Cole's having such a good season. Cole's never been to Rice Lake. Rice Lake's a different animal.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he does over there in the Rice Lake area. And who knows, Mason, we might even have some surprise contenders over there in the Street Stocks.
Yeah, there's usually 2 to 4 cars that show up, and I'm like, I haven't seen them out at a racetrack all summer, and they just
Yep.
magically show up for the dream. And so I'll add a name or two to that list. I'm going to add Sean Amundsen. He's been running one of the Herman stable cars, and he's pretty much been the dominant guy on a weekly basis over at Rice Lake. I feel like he could have won one of the tour races over in Wisconsin if he kind of had some better heat race luck, but I think he's going to be tough to beat as well. You mentioned Nick Trainer. I think if I were him, I would kind of ask the Hermits to race their car again because he looked pretty good in Jenna's car that whole entire weekend, and so I could see him sticking in that car and competing for the win there. Obviously, you can't count out last year's winner, Kyle Dykoff, in the 11. He got a runner-up finish at the Street Stock Tour race just this last week. And Levi Rand, who's had a little bit of bad luck lately, but he was also in the top 3 last year at last year's Street Stock Little Dreams. So Justin Vogel, always a top contender. That's one race that he hasn't marked off his bucket list, and I know he's hungry to try to get a little dream on his resume. And so I'm really excited to see what this dream is going to look like this year because they enhanced the payout. Very good starting money for even the non-qualifying race is
Yep.
a nice payout, and so I think you make just as much if you were to almost win a feature race just by getting in the non-qualifier race or even at the back half of the starting field. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. And a little surprise for me, I'll be hopefully heading off to a new racetrack later that same week as well. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
So that's the racing upcoming this week. And yeah, we'll see if we recorded an episode because since that race is on Tuesday, I'll probably be traveling on that Monday to get over there in time
Yep.
so I can still work a little bit on that Tuesday before heading out to the track in Rice Lake.
Remember, Mason, last year? I think last year you drove over that Monday
Yeah.
and you drove through weather. Remember that?
Yeah,
You
that
got
was a
stuck behind the storm, and then I think the storm caught you.
Yeah, I drove through it, then got to the cities, and then it caught back up to me and became a full-on derecho once I crossed into
Yes.
Wisconsin. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yep. So you got ahead of it then. And then it caught you again, and then you waited, and then you basically got into Wisconsin, and then I think the next day was pretty much clear all day.
Yeah, I was clear
But
all day.
but they
Yeah,
had a lot of wind and rain and everything else on that Monday before the Little Dream on Tuesday.
yeah, that was a mess. But yeah, thankfully on Tuesday it didn't really affect anything. It was that track was in great condition, and they've been on point all year at the track prep. So I surmise it's going to be another great race.
Yeah.
So, we will display the white flag and give a shout out to our friend Brody Carlsrud in the B1 IMCA stock car. He did get one race in up at one of his local tracks, the Buffalo River Speedway, finished in 3rd position. And so, coming off a solid Dakota Classic Modified tour, carrying that momentum with a nice finish for Brody as he starts his second half of the season. Be sure to stay up to date on his racing page, Brody Carlsrud B1, and his podcast, The Real Deal with B1, as he goes into detail on the ins and outs of his racing program and other results around the area. And so thank you, Brody, for the support on the podcast. All right, John, since it's just down to us two, who are your winners of this week?
So my first one, I am going to give it to Blake Adams. Blake put on more miles than Mason this weekend.
Yeah, he did.
So Blake traveled all over the place this weekend to go racing. But the reason why I have to give him a attaboy is because, first of all, he is really strong right now in the Midwest Modifieds as well as the Modifieds in the National Point race. So I think he's trying to double up in that this year, which will be kind of cool if he's able to. But he picked up feature win 100 and 101 this past weekend alone over north of the border when he went over to the into Manitoba at the Dead Horse Creek Speedway to run their 2 day show over there and picked up the wins on night one and then traveled away from the track on night number two. So, but no, picked up wins 100 and 101 up there in Manitoba. So that was kind of cool to see for Blake. So my next win of the week, I am going to give it over to, boy, this is kind of a tough one, Mason. Who do I want to give it to? Kelly Horner. I am giving it over to Kelly Horner. Kelly finally picked up the championship for the Merryweather. He has been in the top five, even in the top two for several years, and always had something happen to where kind of got knocked out of the points battle towards the end of that thing. And this year he held strong. He picked up 2 wins. He was super consistent in the whole series and ended up picking up the championship of the entire tour. So congratulations to Kelly on picking up a nice payday for that tour as well. And then who do I want to give the final win of the week to? I am going to go over to the Eldora Speedway. First of all, I have to give them credit, Eldora, the whole entire weekend because they had the they had an interesting weekend, right? They had 4 races happen, and it started on Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So High Limits was there on the Wednesday, Thursday portion of it because they had the what was it, Mason? Was it the Joker's Wild, or was it the
Yes.
Joker's
Joker's
Wild? Yep.
jackpot.
Joker's Jackpot. Thank you. Over there on Wednesday, Thursday, and that was a nice paying show over there at the Speedway. And Wednesday, Thursday was a pretty good weather day, right? I mean, other than the smoke that was in the air, pretty much from there they were able to run that and they got the show in, and they really didn't have any issues like rain wise. They battled storms Friday and Saturday all day, and I watched the feature. I watched the highlights of the feature when I got home from Jamestown after Jamestown on Saturday night, and boy, was that a race for the Kings Royal. That was a
Mhm.
really good feature event for the Kings Royal. And congratulations to back-to-back champion Anthony Macri. Picked up a win. And it's good to see Anthony back because remember, he hurt his back really bad here. Not even, what was it, Mason, about 2 months ago? He got hurt
Yep.
pretty good. And back in the sprint car and picked up a huge payday over there in Eldora as part of the Kings Royal.
Awesome. Yes, that they definitely were working against Mother Nature those last couple of days. I'm
Yes,
surprised
they
they
were.
even got that whole thing in.
Same, because I mean, it was like pop-up shower and then another pop-up storm, and then they would pack, and then another pop-up storm, and then they would pack again, and yeah, so it was like just a holding pattern.
Well, those are some excellent wins. I was going to be really surprised if you picked any of the three I had kind of picked out because I'm kind of going all over the map here. Not really anywhere close, but my first win is going to go to a driver that we've known quite a bit over the last few years because of all the wins he's gotten and even a national championship. But Braden Brower, he got his first career USRA stock car win down in Mason City, Iowa, this past Sunday, and he's put in a lot of shows this year. He's probably put in 33 events. Finally knocked that first one off, and of course he's been up in our neck of the woods many times, and he's been putting on the miles over the last several years. Took last year as an off break to help his brother Colton in that national championship run, but nice to see Braden get his first USRA stock car win. I figured it was only a matter of time before that was going to happen. Second win, I'm going to go to the USMTS. I'm going to give it to para drivers. I got to stick with our local guys, our Wasota
The
guys.
Minnesota guys got to go with the Minnesota guys. Yep.
Yep, Mike Stearns got his first USMTS win down at Casino Speedway on this last Thursday. That's a big win for him. And then Clayton Wagaman won over the Princeton Speedway for the first night of Mod Wars. And so The USRA, USMTS guys kind of got served on Saturday, Sunday, but I'm like, dang, they could almost author a clean sweep on the Wissota side up here in our neck of the woods. And I'm like, I'm sure those USMTS regulars won't be too pleased about that. But shout out to Mike Stearns and Clayton Wagman for getting wins on their home turfs. And then the third win of the week, I am going to give it over to the drivers at Proctor Speedway, as a lot of them donated their winnings back into the track because they were suffering through some financial struggles and you know, and growing up in years past, like I grew up at the Nodex Speedway, they do what's called a booster night, and I don't know if it's common at racetracks these days, but it was always a night where basically the winnings from for the drivers go right back into the track to help them with finances and expense throughout the summer. And thankfully, in this day and age, that hasn't been as big of a need, but sometimes tracks go through some hardship, and Proctor Speedway is one of those tracks that's been going through some hardship and kind of an uncertain future. And so several drivers donated their checks back to the racetrack so that way they still have a place to race for the time being. And so hopefully it's a step in the right direction for the fans and racers and everyone involved at Proctor Speedway, so that way they can keep racing going. They have several big events throughout the year, including the Silver 1000 and the is it Mayhem Night of Mayhem? Is that what's coming up soon?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so they still have some big events on their schedule, and so hopefully they get like some momentum built up so that way they can finish out their season and kind of get a plan going for us. That way they can stay afloat and we don't need to lose any more racetracks. And so those are my wins of the week.
And Mason, I think this is a good time for us just to kind of have a cordial chat, maybe for just a couple of minutes on here too. Um, this past weekend, there was a lot of racing action that happened. There was a lot of really good racing action that happened this past weekend. But there was also a lot of bashing on social media that happened this past weekend on various social media platforms. From just even track bashing, driver bashing, information like that, that it gave the sport a not very good look this whole entire past weekend. And I don't know if it's mid-season burnout. I don't know if it's mid-season frustration. I don't know if it's heat related or anything else on that one too. But it got to be very excessive this weekend, and as a whole, it's just not a good look. From a racetrack perspective, as well as a driver perspective, as well as anything related to the sport of racing in general. And I think that's one thing that that maybe everybody just kind of needs to take a step back and think of is that as a promoter for racetracks, promoters are not there to try to hurt the racing product, right? Are they willing to have cordial conversations and have, or is tracks going to have off nights? Absolutely, especially when the weather is as hot as it is, they're going to have off nights. You're not going to be perfect every single night. And I believe that sometimes there's areas out there that people are expecting them to be 100% perfect. Just like Jessup Hair. But in short theory on here too, it's basically if you are frustrated or if you're thinking about frustrations or anything else on that one too, have a conversation with your racetracks. Putting information on public platforms and going through and bashing them or going through and creating negativity, that's not helping anybody. Our sport already is having struggles financially to make sure that it can maintain and the negative publicity, that's not going to bring more fans to the grandstands, I can tell you that. So that's one thing that I think everybody just kind of needs to take a step back, take a breather, and let's enjoy the sport again. And if you do have stuff that you want to bring it up either through private messages to the racetracks, have a conversation. A lot of tracks have contact information on their either social media platforms, they have it on their websites. Contact them and talk to them directly. We don't need to be putting it on Facebook and bashing tracks. That's just something that does not need to be happening.
I would agree with everything you said. I just, yeah, with social media, it's just so easy to others to kind of chime in and kind of offer their 2 cents, which usually isn't the most constructive. It just gives people an avenue to kind of voice their frustrations as well, which just kind of snowballs into just a tough look for racetracks and just the sport in general. And so, yeah, I made a post on my racing page, just kind of offering just some encouragement to let's just all be better. We can all be better in our various areas, whether it's whether we announce, whether we just run cameras or whatever it may be, promote events. We could all just do a little bit more just to help the sport we love. So
Yep. And same thing with promoters too. One thing I want to say from the promoter side of it is that, open-mindedness is huge. Um, I mean, if somebody is seeing something, sometimes we get so narrow focused, right, into making sure that, hey, this is happening during the race night, this is happening during the week, or anything else on that one too. Somebody might bring you suggestions that you never even thought of. Be open-minded of that too, to be able to look at it from a different perspective.
I would say definitely use the 24-hour rule. If you're mad or angry, wait 24 hours before you post. And once you get that 24-hour point, if you still feel the same way and you're justified, then it's okay. Still think it over before if you're going to actually do posts. But a lot of things you see people post or immediately delete or often posted in the heat of the moment or just out of anger and passion of racing or whatever it is. And then the next day or even an hour later, they feel foolish and then they have to try to hide what they're posted. And yeah,
yeah,
give
that
it
is so
24
true.
hours.
Agreed 100% with that too. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how time clears up a lot of things, and we just take an extra breather. Things look different, kind of from a distant perspective too. Yes, well said, everyone. Any other closing thoughts before we wrap up the episode?
So, Jessup, who are
Uh,
your winners of the week?
well, my first one's going to be Ryan Timms. I think I've said his name quite a bit this year. He cleaned house down at Knoxville and one over at Houston's, getting at least 3 wins this weekend. Um, winning
He's
the,
getting ready for the Nationals, which is upcoming here in only a few weeks.
I think he's already ready.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
I, I, I haven't seen a more dominant run up leading up to Nationals than what he's done at Knoxville so far this year. My second one's going to be Austin Hartman. Uh, what is it? The racetrack heart attack. And his win over at River Cities, that was pretty cool for him. Being an IRA guy, it was interesting to see that he made the tow all the way over for all the racing for the MSTS series. So that was pretty cool. And I'm going to go Granite City track crew and first responders for their response for the James Trantina side by side wreck. So, um, without their quick response and uh, life saving decision making, um, we could be a short a driver and a couple track owners. So,
Hmm.
they'll get my third win of the week.
yep, that could have been really, really bad on Sunday. And yep,
Um,
on the mend and gonna be a lengthy recovery. But knowing James, he's pretty determined. He'll be back at a track.
Well, it's going to be warm this weekend, so be sure to stay hydrated if you're at a racetrack for sure. Also, take extra precautions to make sure you don't that if you're feeling the heat get to you, make sure you let somebody know or you take the precautions to try to cool down, and get your body back into 100% working function. But also relax a little bit, get out to a racetrack, and get ready because there's going to be a lot of special races upcoming here in August, and you're going to want to be prime and prepped and ready to go because as soon as August hits with some of these specials, because there are going to be some big paying shows, then we hit invitational season already in September and into October. So yeah, take a breather if you need one, and see you at a track again soon.
yep. Well said. I mean, really, invitationals for us are really starting this past weekend or this upcoming weekend, and we got um, what's it called, the Prairie Classic, Estevan.
Yep,
Then it goes
yep.
into the old Gov Cup, and then it's
With late models, 2 days of late models in Mandan. I'm excited because I'm a late model guy.
yes. Wasn't Becca supposed to tell us who's all signed up tonight?
Well, she was, but remember she was just a park, not even a starting park, just a park.
That's one of those where if you picked her in My Race Fantasy, you're absolutely cussing at your phone at the end of the night.
Yeah, you get nothing.
Good day. No, it it's a good time.
Yep.
But no, that's all I really got. Be nice, be kind, all that good stuff. It's hot. Leave.
Becca will
Yes,
be happy. Becca will be very happy because it's hot.
I don't
but
think it's hot enough.
the good news is the days are getting shorter, so the sun is setting sooner, which is definitely going to help as we get into the month of August. But still in the heart of July, so unfortunately we have to suffer with whatever Mother Nature throws at us. With that, that'll do it for episode 14 of season 5 for the Track Packers podcast. As always, be sure to like, share, and comment. We love to hear who's all watching and or listening. Thank you to our sponsors, Paul Bunyan Mini Storage, The Real Deal with B1 Brody Carlsford, and Isaac Hot Sauce Sandro. As we hit into the late July, early August, get out there, support Dirt Track Racing, and we will see you out there packing the track.